Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slamhub Wrestling. Myself, Suprit, and this is your AEW Dynamite review for November 4th, 2021. Is it 3? Well,
Yep, it
it's
is November
November
3rd.
November the 3rd, 2021. My bad. I'm joined by Ridwan here. What did you think about Dynamite this week? I thought it was almost a decent show, nothing much.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent show, like nothing groundbreaking except for the major news that was there, but which was outside of it. But besides that, I thought it was a passable show, and it's fine to have such shows, while you're leading up to something big, and at the same time, like it's fine to just stay, like, take a back a little. But it was an enjoyable show nonetheless.
Now that you mentioned it, let's talk about it. Sending best wishes to one Jon Moxley. He's going through some stuff and he's taking some precautions for it. Can you let the people know what exactly happened if they are not familiar with it?
Okay, so like Wednesday, Tuesday night and Wednesday morning in the Asian region, Tony Khan put out a tweet with the permission of Moxley to let everyone know that Moxley is entering a inpatient rehab program for his treatment of alcoholism, and he was like saying that he won't be able to compete, so as he's like entering rehab, he's physically entering rehab. And yeah, sending our best wishes to Jon Moxley. And I don't want to comment any further on that because it's a very how do I say this?
Sensitive topic.
Yes, it is a thank you for that. It's a very sensitive topic, and all we could do is just pray and hope for him and his family to be in a better place right now. And like, like, yeah,
And
that's all.
this news came out of left field. Like, we were here last week. Like, he was going through a character change, was still a major part of their wrestling programming. And I seen many people tweet about this, like in a week or time he was about to have a big match with Bryan Danielson, so he decided to risk all that and just focus on himself.
Yes, and it's a very brave move, as everyone is saying, and it really is. When you're in the middle of something big professionally, and to be able to walk away from that and focus on your mental well-being is, I feel this should be normalized in a more broader sense. And I must say, like, I'm proud of John for taking such an initiative, and it's never too late to admit where you're going wrong. And we'll eventually get to that, but it's always good to ask for help and focus on your own mental well-being. So that's what Mox is doing, and we wish him the best for that.
Like in a business where there has been several, like it's a thing, you have to work and commit to it whether you're injured or not. Uh,
And yeah,
like, you
no,
get my
continue.
point, right? There have been, for example, if you are going through an injured back, you have to commit to your bookings, wait till 2 weeks, and then do whatever you want. But in Jon Moxley's case, he decided, fuck all that shit. I'm going to focus on myself, get this rehab done, and then let's see what happens.
Yes, and in a way, if you look at in a more broader sense, that's also, I mean, not about Mox or anyone, but I'm just talking about AW. Like, it's very normalized, and a lot of old wrestlers have said this in the past. Like, even though they were hurt, they still tried to go just to make themselves look tough, and b, not to lose their spot on the card, because that's what has happened. And it was, like I mentioned, it was normalized for the most part, and I'm glad we're looking at it from a different sense, and it's a step in the right direction. Like, when Like if you're hurt, you can take time off, just focus on yourself and come back when you're ready. And that's kind of what makes AEW great, because like they've been largely criticized for it, but it also works in their favor. And I like so far they've made a good use of it. Like even though they have a very bloated roster, they can always rotate the top stars, when the time is right. If they want to take some time off, they can go out, they can come back when they're ready, and in that time frame another person is getting to shine without the departed person losing his spot on the card.
And I think this news majorly affected this Dynamite, I guess, because Moxley he was indeed part of big plans. So that was a little hectic for Tony Khan with the news as well, but deciding to come up with a new card or a new spot or filling in the spots.
Yes, and plus, like you mentioned, he was going to be a part of something seismic for himself in like his character, as well as for the even larger spectrum of AEW, because as the rumored plan was, he was going to win the tournament, turn heel, and face Hangman. Whatever happened from there, that was a discussion for another time. But so far, this was the direction that they were going in. But this news has also thrown a wrench in all of that, and it's fine. Like I'd say whatever happened, just we'll get to it eventually. So yeah, that's all.
But let's quickly get into the card itself. But before all that stuff, if you are new to Slamhub Wrestling, then make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Check out our other content that is provided with links in the description. Check that out. But let's get into the card, man. So they kicked off with Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, versus Alan Angels. This was a match. You could say it was a last minute addition to the card, but it had some story. Like these two had a match back in 2020 that was like their initial pandemic shows, which happened like they didn't even tape this match in Daly's place. This happened somewhere in Atlanta, in QT
Yes.
Marshall's gym or something.
Yeah, it was a TNT, like it was during that time where they were filming for the TNT championship.
And Kenny was still one half of the tag champs.
Yes.
But about this match, can we do the same criticism that we had for the first one and also add that same criticism to this match as well? Because it was basically the same thing. Or was
I wasn't,
or were
yeah.
they trying to prove something different here?
I wasn't watching, I wasn't watching wrestling much at that time. So I didn't know that much ever happened, like except when Kenny referenced in his promo, like his that's five. He couldn't last 5 minutes in the ring with me or something like that. But this match, it was staged very randomly on like early in the show, and of course, like from it even announcing. And when this match took place, that was the time I got to know that they've wrestled before, and the story of all that, like whatever happened. So
Like the internet went wild that Omega was not able to beat Allen Angels. Not like it took him a while to beat Allen Angels back then.
yes, and he was just starting out at that time in AEW. Then after that, the late Mr. Brody Lee recruited him to the Dark Order, and this was actually my first time watching Alan Angels wrestle. Because like so far my exposure to him was just he was a butt of jokes in the Dark Order. Like they used to always make fun of him, and that's it. I hadn't seen him wrestle, and this was the first time that I did, and I would say I was mighty impressed. Even though, like whatever happened on the show, this is something that felt under the radar, but overall it was a very solid showing for Angels.
So they had a match, went about less than 10 minutes. And yeah, it
Mm.
was basically the same thing. Like Angels did get, some offense, some big offense here and there. He even kicked out of the V trigger. So Omega was furious and he hit more V triggers, at least two more, and that's what gets the victory for Omega. So that was basically it. Omega then cut a small little promo after the match. He was kind of taking a shots at the critics, the same critics who kind of criticized the whole their first match, and like he
Ryan
couldn't.
Satan.
Who?
Ryan Satan.
Oh, that guy.
The Shill, yes.
Yeah. Who isn't that the guy who's affiliated with the Bella Danger?
Who? Who?
Anyways, man, this
I
is
don't.
a
The,
PG podcast. We'll get to the review itself.
oh
Yeah,
yes.
we'll get to the
Shit.
review itself. So, yeah, he was just basically taking shots at the critics, and he was about to pilmanize five Allen Angels himself. He ordered Nakazawa, who accompanied Kenny Omega to this match, get him a steel chair, and he did get a steel chair. This is one of those. It was not your traditional solid steel chair. It was, what do you call those type
It
of?
was a seat. It was a seat from the crowd. If you could display, if you could explain it in a more layman terms, like a
So
normal seat.
Omega, he got this chair. I think he wrapped the chair around Allen's head or something. Was what?
No, what happened was he was like he just put a chair and he was trying to give him a one-winged angel on
Ah,
that.
okay. So it could happen because Hangman Page showed up. He was making a slow walk to the ring, and something happened. I don't know what was happening here. Omega for 1 second got distracted or something, and Page was making the slow walk, got on the apron, was going for a buckshot. Omega saw this coming and escaped and left the AEW championship in the ring. So Page was able to get the championship and kind of tease of what should happen in the next week or so.
Hopefully,
It should happen, man. It should happen. But there
it
you go,
should.
man. Really waiting for this match and hope we get this big payoff.
Yes, it's like 2 years in the making. This entire story arc of Hangman Page, and like we've harped on it on this podcast in the past that it deserves its culmination sometime this year, unless you are someone who's hoping for instant heat and all that bullshit. But yeah, this is a long time coming, and it is the right moment for Hangman to win the championship once and for all, beat his demons again once and for all. And this promo was so good. Like he looked like the best version of himself. Even Tony Schiavone mentioned like we are seeing a more confident version of Hangman Page, and that is the story in a sense because he's someone who's lost confidence in himself and life, and then he's coming back from all of that to eventually win the championship. The thing that eluded him since AEW started. And yeah, I mean that whole slow walk and then the buckshot, and like the buckshot is eventually the story if you think about it, because like everyone's been theorizing that Omega's one-winged angel deserves to be kicked out by Hangman. I don't think that's exactly the story. The real story is Hangman being able to hit Kenny with the buckshot lariat, because if you remember, even at Revolution he was teasing going for the buckshot lariat after the match with the Bucks, the 6-star match, and then he just goes like no, and then he lets Kenny come out of the ring. So that's going to be a glorious moment when it happens during Full Gear, and I can't wait for this match, man. I am just so pumped for it. Just hoping for a great showing for both of these guys and the writers.
See, that's a really good story. It's not the greatest storyline ever in in this business ever. It's a good story in terms of long term because we don't see that much of it in modern wrestling.
Yes, it's like it's been normalized for a lot of these week to week booking and like these swerves and all that, the crash TV style writing. This is something that was built organic since the start, and here we are.
See, what do you think is the best modern storyline, long term or whatever you see?
I would say this is one of those. Besides that, probably like it wasn't very long term. I would say Okada's rise back to becoming world champion when when he lost the title, he went into like this descent of madness. Right? Like he just dyed his hair red, and then he wasn't even coming. He wasn't Rainmaker again. He stopped believing in himself. That was like a very underrated story.
Midlife
And not to
crisis
forget
Okada.
midlife crisis Okada.
Ah,
Exactly. Thank you. And also uh, like conversely, Tetsuya Naito's rise from 2013 when he won the G1, and the crowd hated him for that. Even he even got his main event demoted to like a semi main event, and I think the Intercontinental Championship match main evented the show. And from there to him, becoming the an ingobernable, forming Lij, and then going on to win G1. And I thought that like in 20, like that's a power of hindsight, of course. That was the best time for him to win. But they extended the story a further 2 3 years, and then he got his glory moment. I thought like the magic of it disappeared a little, but it was still a very good story because he ended up beating Okada, who who denied him the opportunity of glory twice before. So I think that's like a great long-term story. And also maybe the DIY story was something that I was heavily invested in because
I
I was
was
a huge.
about to say the DIY with Gargano and Champa. I think that's in the last 5 years or so, that is pretty much a underrated thing on WWE television.
Weirdly, you could say this with the power of hindsight as well, because
Because it happened
when
on
it was.
NXT.
Yes, and plus when it was happening, like it was very highly applauded. Even it also won the feud of the year for Dave Meltzer's awards. But like everyone was raving about it when it happened, so maybe like it was a thing, like the thing back then, but now not really, like not many people talk about it, so that's what makes it underrated in a strange way. But you could say that's like a greatest, no, not the greatest, but a great story, a modern day, long term great story, but also underrated. Like in American wrestling, rather. I was just getting to that. I'm sorry. Like the great long term story in American wrestling in the recent years.
Anyways, man, one thing I wanted to point out is that funny enough, seeing Kenny Omega in this singles match was really surprising because he hasn't had a lot of singles matches. He has had tag matches here and there, but not of singles matches. But just he was defending the title. That's it. I think he was protected a
Hmm.
lot. Did you
Yes,
agree?
and yes, and I feel that's how a champion should be in a way, because like it makes the champion feel special, but also depending on what the his or her gimmick is, because TV, like champions are the people who you want to sell your big things around, the big pay-per-view or something, and they are like the grand attraction, whereas the mid card or the TV championship can fill in your weekly shows. Like Lesnar was a great example of that, even though he defended it very rarely, and it was infuriating in some parts. Like it was a very complicated one because WWE also does their pay-per-views monthly instead of quarterly, and having your champion show up rarely was like I mentioned, infuriating, but at the same time he was a box office draw and a star attraction, so you wanted to keep him for the bigger shows as well.
And for Omega's case, knowing that he has injuries and stuff, it really worked for him.
Yes, I think he's definitely taking time off after he loses I mean, if hopefully if he loses the championship at Full Gear.
And that is a very well-deserved time out. Sorry, time off.
Oh, absolutely.
But moving on, man, we had a short promo by Malachi Black. So he's ordered by Tony Khan that he's barred from ringside. He can't get involved in the Cody Rhodes and Andrade El Idolo match, and was little furious over that decision. And I don't know, he made some reference which went over my head, but what do you make of it, man?
So he was referencing this play by William Shakespeare called Julius Caesar. And then he was like, Julius Caesar. So the story goes like Julius Caesar was the ruler of Rome, and like he was very, like he was a saint in a way because like everyone adored him, but he was betrayed by the people, the jealous, the bad side, and also by one of his own people. So when Malachi Black said, like, Marcus wasn't the only guy who stabbed Julius Caesar, because there was a confidant of Julius Caesar known as Brutus, and he was also one of the guys who stabbed Julius Caesar. And when Julius Caesar was stabbed by Brutus, he said "Et tu, Brute," which is like one of the most famous lines in folklore, in any folklore whatsoever. So when Malachi Black said that, I thought probably someone from the Nightmare family was going to stab Cody in the back and move on with their lives, which I thought was very intriguing. But we'll get to the match eventually. But yeah, that was a pretty strange reference from Malachi.
And the great part too is that it will happen eventually, I guess.
Yeah, but not who we think is going to betray Cody.
Is it the enforcer himself?
That's what I thought as well, but we'll get to it eventually.
I think Cody Rhodes should get extra security for his own safety, I guess.
Pull out the Glock.
Yeah. But we had CM Punk next for a big promo segment, in-ring promo segment. He came out, crowd goes wild like usual. And he came in here like he has a very serious look. Didn't do the stage dive, wasn't, showing off to the crowd. He just got in, got the mic, and this was, you can't say for the first half of this bit, it was not a promo. He was just addressing the crowd. Like he said, there are two guys that are not here. Like what was the reference he made?
Like two guys that are not currently here said.
Oh yes, and first of one of them is Jon Moxley. Like the what was happening was all the people were chanting for CM Punk, and then he made it a situation where everyone started cheering for Jon Moxley. Of course, like he addressed the current situation that is happening with Moxley. Then, like there was this line. I think you and I shared this on our Instagram stories. Like
Yes.
if you get into this type of situation or you're in trouble, just ask for help, call someone, text someone, do something. So this was just Punk addressing real life stuff, which is great. And I love that the crowd went silent for a minute.
Yes, they were applauding for every word that CM Punk was saying, as of course, because he's like the best people who can speak on such issues, and in general, he's a talker, grand talker rather. But this promo was very heartfelt for all the right reasons, because I mean it's a mental health scare. At the same time, like he's encouraging people to seek help, whoever feel like they're in trouble. And that's what something I keep preaching on my socials, even though it's not the right thing to do. That if you're in trouble, if you're in a place where you feel like you can't take this anymore, just seek help. Vent your frustrations to your closest person if you trust them enough, and just work towards getting a better mental health space. And that's what we all need to strive to do. And yeah, that's about it for the other part. But whereas this promo is concerned, man, like how could you not love CM Punk anymore if you weren't already?
And this was not the promo part. He was just discussing the real life stuff. He
Yes,
discussed.
yes, but it was still like part of what he was saying, so I meant in that sense. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
So he covered the Moxley bit and he addressed the other guy who's not present in the venue. that is Eddie Kingston. Like he discussed and brought up the stuff that happened between him, the interaction that he and Kingston had at Rampage, the last Rampage. And he also brought up a part where he was originally about to be, to take the spot of Jon Moxley in this Eliminator tournament and face Orange Cassidy. But the people won't be, getting the Orange Cassidy CM Punk match, and you can blame Eddie Kingston on that one. So the stuff he said is that he want to really clear the air of what's going on, what's the issue with him and Kingston. Like he said that the way Kingston approached him on Rampage, it's like they have somewhat of a beef or something. So later on, we were announced that Eddie Kingston on social media said that he will be showing up at Rampage and he's ready to have a face off with CM Punk. That should be good, and I'm pretty excited, man.
Yes, man. The promos between both of these guys are going to be lit. Like it's going to be so awesome to see both of these guys competing on the mic, because they are like the best talkers today and possibly ever. Like with Kingston, it's the case of today. With Punk, is both today and forever. And like, I like the segue that that Punk did, in his promo, because first he was talking about Jon Moxley and about mental health, and so from that he switched his attention to Eddie Kingston, a person who's also very well documented about his mental health struggles, and is also like a person who's always been open about his struggles, which is Eddie Kingston. And he, like, whatever he says, he makes you believe. And he's gone on record to mention that whatever, whenever he speaks about his mental health, it's a shoot. He means whatever he says, and even in general, because that's what Eddie Kingston is, the realist MFer in the room. Excuse me. So yeah, and this, like, the brief interaction that they had on the Rampage, it was like, the story is basically Eddie, like, Punk was just having a good time about Halloween. He was speaking to Shivani about what Halloween is, and then Eddie, who was furious after his loss to Brand Danielson, which was an amazing match, by the way. So just let me get that out. So Eddie misinterprets it as Punk was making fun of him. That they were just, Punk and Shivani were laughing and having a good time, and Eddie thinks that they were making fun of him, and then Eddie just starts blasting on Punk. So, and Punk also felt offended that he was interrupted during his promo. So that's the story now. Like a pretty weird, not weird, like a pretty different way to get to it. But I mean, the prospect of it is excellent nonetheless. And if you would have told me a year ago, or perhaps like, when the pandemic started, that Eddie Kingston, a very well-renowned independent wrestling name who was going to retire in this year, in 2020, 2021, is not only going to sign for a major wrestling company, but also be one of the key players, and also going to face CM Punk a year later on pay-per-view. If you would have told this to me like early last year, I would have laughed at you, but it's happening, and injected into my veins.
Rampage should be good, man, this week, and it's live.
Yes, it's live, surprisingly. Like, this show was in Independence, Missouri, and next show is in St. Louis, Missouri, which is like a very well-renowned wrestling territory. So it's going to be great.
We'll have to wait and see. But before we get to the rest of the card here, shall we talk about Battle of the Belts?
Yes. So Andrew Zarian from the Matman podcast, he was the one who had said, right, that the AEW are trying to do a super show on TNT, the pay-per-view style, which is not part of a Dynamite or Rampage. And it's going to be like, they were trying to name it Clash of the Champions, but since the trademark is owned by WWE, they're going to go for a Battle of the Belts, which is also another show that NWA did in the past. So yeah.
Yeah. My only doubt was, is this a Dynamite special, or is it something else? Then I think it is indeed a separate entity, right? That is all happening on TNT itself.
Yes, it's not part of a Dynamite or Rampage. It's going to be a super show. Like it was part of the deal that was mentioned when AEW announced Dynamite was moving to TBS, and Rampage was a thing essentially. And that's when they mentioned that they are going to do a quarterly super show quarterly super show in start like from 2022 onwards. So this is like the first step in that. So every quarter, just like they do pay-per-views, there's also going to be a super show. So Battle of the Belts is also one such. And
Pretty interesting. I'll looking forward to how it looks like on TV. Basically, a pay-per-view on TV, right?
Yes, it is exactly that.
So let's see, man. I think it's basically the concept of every championship being different on any paper. Nothing much, right?
Yes, but like by then, probably that's the time we might get a new TBS champion, or when Dynamite moves to TBS. So we could probably see that. But I don't think the tournament is concluding anytime soon. Like not at full gear. Probably it's going to extend till December, and take it, build it even further for Premier Dynamite, or also the pay-per-view.
And January, with addition of this, is going to be a hectic wrestling schedule
For AEW or in general?
for the fans, man, like you and me. You have to
Yes.
nitpick on what you want to watch on that January month.
My priorities are pretty clear when it comes to watching wrestling. So I think, but yeah, you're right.
What are you
because
watching on
there's
January?
because there's Wrestle Kingdom, there is the Dynamite Super Show. There's also Royal Rumble. Probably Impact might do a pay-per-view. So it's going to be a stacked month. So I just remembered Super Kingdom, Wrestle Kingdom while you were
Super
talking about
Kingdom?
me. Super Kingdom. That's my Jeremy Piven botch. So you can meme away, fans. Thank you.
Nice, nice. Super Kingdom is a
Summerfest.
good name for a wrestling paper.
Yes, thank you.
Anyways, man, I'm more excited for day one.
Wrestle Kingdom.
No, day one.
I could care less about that. I'm sorry.
Okay, then that is regarding Battle of the Belts. But moving on with the review, we had a AAA Tag Team Championship match, FTR. Basically, they did a open challenge to any luchadors, basically from the past, present, whatever. So Tony Khan, he came up with the one thing they wanted luchadors, but they didn't wanted the lucha bros itself. They are excluding them. So this open challenge was, I think you could say, accepted, or you could say Tony Khan announced the opponents basically on Wrestling Observer. It was Aerostar and Samurai Del Sol, the former Kalisto. This was my first time seeing Aerostar. I think, isn't this the guy who did a shooting star press of a balcony or something, or is basically a risk taker?
He is. Not sure about the balcony part. And I hadn't seen much of Aerostar besides, like, there was this one pay-per-view that Impact had done. What was it called? That's where Pentagon won the championship from Austin Aries. I think it was called like Emergence or something like that. Impact.
I don't remember. It was
It was
2017.
it was 2018, and yeah, I don't remember the pay-per-view name exactly. And that was my first time watching Aerostar. He was facing Drago on, like, to open the show. And I think he was there in Lucha Underground. I'm not sure. Probably even like he was wrestling AAA. I've seen like a few of his matches. Like he was, whenever Impact did a Mexico tour, he was wrestling there. So yeah, like my exposure is pretty limited, but of course, like Samurai Del Sol, you've seen him WWE, and he was also like he was very criticized for being a botch machine, but like that is to be expected with lucha matches, and he looked pretty crisp in this one.
He did. And this match was good, but Aerostar, he was a little off.
Yeah, he was botching a lot of moves, but also it is to be expected with his style when you're working with guys like FTR who are like smooth as butter, but and they can work with any style, but while you're keeping up with the breakneck pace, you ought to make such botches, and it was understandable a little.
And this match, I don't know what to say about this match. FTR tried their best to save this one, make it look good, but I think the botches were too much, I guess. Aerostar was little off because I don't know, was it he nervous? Was there any language barrier? But he didn't come out looking good, I guess.
Yeah, he looked a bit, I mean, botchy, but I'd forgive that for now. And overall, I thought this match was decent. It could have been a lot better, but like props to Samurai Del Sol for showing his capabilities and showing his abilities and getting a chance to shine, because I thought he looked so much better than Aerostar, which is a bit detrimental to the latter's reputation, because he is also one of the premier high flyers in Lucha Libre currently, and yeah, but still blocked by Samurai Del Sol on Twitter.
So at the end of the day, they had a decent enough match, I guess. There was a part where I think Tully Blanchard, he came in and tried to rip someone. I think it was Aerostar's mask. So that
Hmm.
is a typical heel thing you do when a luchador is involved, I guess.
Yes, and then FTR just pick up the victory after pinning Samurai. I think it was Samurai Del Sol, yes, and Cash Wheeler just grabs the rope and the tights for the pin.
There you go. That was the match. And I think we had a post-match bit where Lucha Bros showed up and they tried to attack FTR. No,
It
no.
was
I'm
later in the show.
I'm really jumping ahead with this one. It was later on.
Yes,
We'll get to that part as well. But yeah, man, we are getting this AEW Tag Team Championship match with the Lucha Bros. Should be a good one, man.
like this is the match I'm very much excited for on the show, because I mean I love tag team wrestling, and these two are like my absolute faves, especially FTR, from their time in NXT, and Lucha Bros because from their time in Impact, because I hadn't seen much of AAA and Lucha Underground beforehand. So yeah, man, this is the literal match for me to inject, probably. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to this one.
Moving on, we had I think I a little messed up with my notes. Yes, we had a promo by MIRO, I believe. So they announced that MIRO is taking Jon Moxley's spot in this match with Orange Cassidy, and basically he was saying something like that. He and God had some issues, and then all of a sudden God gifted with this announcement that he's getting a title shot. Basically, a typical Miro promo. I love these promos. We have mentioned this a lot in these reviews. But Miro's addition, it makes sense, I guess, because when they announced this tournament, he was really furious that he was not, one of the competitors, and now he finally gets that opportunity.
Yes, because he was ranked, I think, number three on the rankings, number three or number four, and he just gets slotted in, which was like a very good I mean, very good thing to see, because the rankings mean something now. And while when this Mox announcement took place, like of course we all were hoping for Mox to get better, but as being the wrestling fans that we are, we just immediately start speculating on who's going to take that vacant position. I was hoping, or I was expecting, probably, like, in the interest of fairness, probably 10, because Mox beat him on the way to winning this match. Or I was expecting Eddie because of his showing versus Bryan Danielson, which was superb. But Miro made a lot more sense because of his position in the card, the story that they're running, and we'll get into that later.
Anyways, I thought that for 1 second they were going to give Orange Cassidy the bye, and we'll get Cassidy versus Danielson at the paper.
Yes, but you got to sell the show, right? And promote the interest of fairness of other competitors too.
We'll get to the main event, but we had an interview with the Super Click. So this is Young Bucks and Adam Cole, baby. We had Brandon Cutler with his spray and all. He was just goofing around in the background while they were conducting this interview. And all of a sudden, we see Christian Cage show up. He kind of spooked them, and Matt Jackson, being the smart one, said, you don't even try to do some stupid shit because we are three guys and you are just alone. Then we see in the background Luchasaurus showing up, and you can see Brandon Cutler. He was just trying to escape from this situation, and I was laughing at this point. So Luchasaurus showed up, and then we see a big brawl here between all these guys. So this brawl came near ringside, near under the stage or something like that. So there was this spot where it was a 3-on-2 beatdown on the baby faces. Jungle Boy showed up. He came up the ramp and did a huge dive. Looked insane. And yeah, the brawl was on. There was some parts where the heels were low blowing the baby faces. They were back on the ramp again. And what happened was, I don't know, it was Adam Cole. He got concertoed at the end by Christian Cage.
Yes, so Christian was going for a kill switch on Matt Jackson near the stage, like the ending part of the stage, and then when he went for the kill switch, and then he got a super kick, and then everyone started, brawling again. And the Bucks thought they had an upper hand, and then Adam Cole crawls from the entrance ramp to the stage. And then, like, Jungle Boy, like, Luchasaurus gives, I think, one of Matt or Nick a chokeslam onto Adam Cole, so he gets sandwiched between the stage and the person who was taking it. And then, like, Jungle Boy locks him into a snare trap and Adam Cole taps out. And then Christian gets a chair, and then he gets concertoed. So we hope Adam Cole, I mean, kayfabe, in speaking in kayfabe, we hope Adam Cole is okay for his match with Johnny Hungy on Rampage.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Concertoed. So that means only 2 days off for Adam Cole.
Weirdly.
Yeah, that taking out of action doesn't work these days, I guess, with concertos.
Yes. I had just have an interesting theory about this.
Yeah, go on.
Probably. Okay, so now that we have Adam Cole out, I mean, possibly out because of the concerto, and John Silver was planning to face Adam Cole on the show, and now probably we don't know that if Adam Cole is injured or is he okay. And this Rampage is live, so could we be expecting a surprise on the show? Because Rampage rarely does live shows. So could we see, like, could this be leading to something?
What kind of surprise are you expecting? That's the question.
A surprise debut, I guess, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean at this point.
Okay, man. I hope this doesn't happen, but I hope this match goes as planned. But I was kind of expecting Windham to show up instead of Adam Cole and take on John Silver.
Um,
I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but I won't be surprised if it does because, like I mentioned, Rampage rarely does live shows. They would be pulling something out of the hat.
That's too big of an announcement, I guess. Sorry, swerve.
Yeah, that's what. Let's see what happens.
But I think we are expecting this match to happen. Adam Cole versus John Silver. It is a really well, we could say, like they obviously have. We will get to the John Silver part. Why this match is happening for more reasons. But shall we move on to the TBS Women's Championship tournament match? We had Jamie Hayter
Yes,
versus Anna Jay, and this match was fine for what it was. I would say that Anna Jay does get a little better as the days goes by.
a little gets what?
In the ring, I was saying that Anna Jay, as she gets more matches on television, she does quite better in the ring.
Yes, I agree to that. Like she's also constantly improving whenever she wrestles, even though like she's still very green and like she's getting better. It'll take a while for her. I think the shoulder injury that she suffered was pretty detrimental because she was improving like at a rapid pace while before she got injured, and now after this injury, it's slowed down and it will take a while. I hope she gets better more and more in the ring as the time goes by, and hopefully sooner. But it's fine for what it was, and it was basically building a bigger story with like the main story wasn't even the match itself, because they were building more towards Jamie Hayter, who was like, spoiler, she won the match, and she is going to face Thunder Rosa in the next round, who had received a bye because of her ranking. And also, with the association with Britt Baker, who is the AEW Women's Champion, facing Ty Conti, who's Anna Jay's friend. So that was the bigger story than the match itself. There you go.
So as we get to the final parts, like Anna Jay was not able to get in the sleeper hold. Her submission,
The Queen
what?
Slayer.
Yeah, the
Queen
Queen
Slayer.
Slayer submission. So there was some interference from both Rebel and Britt Baker, I guess. So this cost Anna Jay the match at the end. So Jamie Hayter hits with a big lariat or clothesline. It looked more like a clothesline to me. So she hits that, gets the victory. Jamie Hayter advances. No surprise here. I think she's facing Thunder Rosa in the next round, I believe.
She is
And we know who's winning that match.
Thunder Rosa.
Of course. And like there was a post-match bit where the heels were attacking Anna Jay, and like you said, Ty Conti showed up, who will be facing Britt for the women's championship at the pay-per-view. So she came in, tried to attack all three members at once, but the numbers game were too much for Ty Conti. So then we see Thunder Rosa showing up for the big save. So there you go. They are trying to build the upcoming matches and nothing much.
And also a possible Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker feud later down the line.
That is later down the line, but it depends whether she wins the TBS championship or not.
Sadly, I don't think so.
You don't think she's getting the belt?
I mean, I hope she does, but I don't think she will.
We'll have to wait and see, man. But they are putting a lot of effort to make this TBS Women's Championship mean more. Like we also got some promos from some of these competitors for these upcoming matches. Like we heard from Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho, the Bunny. Who's the
Jade
Bunny
Cargill,
facing?
Red Velvet.
Yeah, we also heard from her as well. Like these promos got more time compared to the Queen's Crown tournament. See, there's another shot.
Yes, you're shooting from the hip, brother.
Anyways, man, as of now, this women's championship, so TBS women's championship tournament is still a thumbs up from me. It's not a big
Hell yeah.
deal. It's going well.
It's going very well because last week we spoke about the seedings, the matches that were scheduled. So they were what do you say? They were seeded pretty well, and now we are getting closer to the business end of it, and how do they take it from there? So yeah, overall a big thumbs up from me as well. Feel like this is kind of legitimizing the champion who is eventually going to win the whole thing, and also the competitors who are fighting for it.
And is it this the first time that Chris Statlander had a promo on AEW?
Probably. She rarely ever talks. Like, the whole joke is that she's an alien. She always is on her whoever she comes in contact with. And yeah, this was the first time that I actually heard her speak coherently, I guess. But yeah, it was a good promo from her, and also Ruby Soho building to their eventual match. So that's going to be a great match.
Should be
Spoilers.
good, man. It should be good. But you
Should be
know
great.
what's not good? This whole thing with the inner circle and the American top team. So I don't know what they were doing. I almost forgot. So I think the inner circle were going to announce who are the members from the American top team that will be taking part in this street fight at the pay-per-view. This 10-man street fight, whatever, at Full Gear.
Minneapolis Street Fight.
So the inner circle made their entrance first, crowd saying Judas like always. So quickly they are interrupted by American top team and Dan Lambert is here this week. This let me tell you what I thought of this segment. This segment was good, bad, funny, and cringe. These all
Same.
the terms I can define you for this entire segment, and this went for a while. I don't know what they were
Yeah.
even at one point. I even forgot why are they even here on TV this week.
Because for Jericho, like Dan Lambert was here had gotten a contract for this match to sign for the inner circle. So two representatives head of each team will sign on their team's behalf. And since inner circle had the right to choose the members from the American top team to face them in that street fight. So that was the whole story of it, the whole basis of having the segment. But like you said, it was good, bad, funny, and cringe at the same time, and could not agree more with you on that.
So there was this one part where they were picking. You let me know who they picked from the American top team side because I literally don't have a idea. Like the men of the year are a fix, but I don't remember who's representing the American top team side.
Yes, so they were basically like they had to choose three because Ethan and Scorpio were a lock since they are professional wrestlers, and the three had to be from MMA. So this starts when Jake Hager, like Jericho, they both were trading barbs with each other, Jericho and Lambert. And then Jericho gives the mic to Jake Hager. He's like, "Who's the first person that you choose?" And Jake Hager obviously goes for Junior Dos Santos because of the table break the other day. And then they just make fun of his head size and also his last fight where he lasted only 71 seconds in his previous UFC fight. So that was one person who was chosen, Junior Dos Santos, former UFC heavyweight champion. And then the mic goes to Santana. He chooses Andrei Arlovsky, who's also a former UFC heavyweight champion. And then he was telling that if you were a ruthless man in a match with rules, how bad are you going to be with a match with no rules? And if you want to go for rules, rule this. So he said something like that, basically, like just to, you know, I'm trying to not give the obvious obscene gesture here, but you figure it out what he
Yeah.
meant. And then these guys were just also just talking shit. Jericho was talking about Lambert's face, calling him a fat face dipshit, and Ortiz just starts speaking in Spanish. And yeah, sorry. So Dan Lambert just says that before you announce the last person, we have some score to settle with Austin Vanderford and Paige Van Zandt as both a husband and wife, since Jericho had been shaming Paige Van Zandt weekly. And Dan Lambert was like her husband is going to beat the shit out of you, and then the husband also speaks that he will, and then Jericho starts making fun, and then Paige Van Zandt takes the mic and she says that she doesn't need a man to fight her battles, and she's going to whoop Jericho's ass, like the Instagram filter and all that joke. And she says that I can take all of you five people at once, insert sex joke. And then Jericho also alludes to it that the joke writes itself, and then he still slut shames Paige Van Zandt again, which I thought was very cringe. It was very uneasy promo to get through in the latter parts.
It was funny.
And
That line was funny if you hate Paige Vincent.
yes, but there aren't enough reasons to hate Paige Van Zandt. But I yeah, it's weird to get through anyway. Okay, and then she says that line. Jericho makes fun of her, and then she laughs at it, which was like fair play. I know it's a work, like, these guys have agreed to these lines, and then they must have gone with it. But it was
Can
still
can I
uneasy.
s-
It
can
was
I
st-
say that
Yeah.
Paige Vincent, when she spoke, she had some oomph to her. Like she has a certain personality.
Yes, she was pretty, like, she was tipped to be a major player in WWE as, like, someone who's going to transition well into professional wrestling. And her fighting career isn't doing any better as of this point as we speak right now. And that's the best way she could transition to pro wrestling and just do well, because she's also doing 18 plus stuff on the internet. So if she signs for WWE, that's out of the window. So she can do it in AEW now. So there you go. And then Ortiz starts speaking in Spanish, and then Paige Van Zandt is like, "What is he saying?" And then Sammy just takes the mic. He means you're a bitch, and then the crowd pops for that, which was also a bit uneasy. But if they've agreed to it, so they are acting according to that's a fair play. And then Jericho chooses the last person, and he says that the last person I choose is the first person of the American top team who started this thing 25 years ago, Dan Lambert. As even Dan Lambert even said that I was the first member of the American top team. And then Jericho was like, "You guys heard him say it. You guys heard him say he's a first member of the American top team." And there you go. So Dan Lambert is the fifth member of the American top team to face the inner circle, which completely came out of left field as well, because like the obvious signs were alluding to Jorge Masvidal after him kneeing Jericho twice in the face during their matches. So I thought he would be the fifth guy, and this was surprising, but I'm intrigued to see how do they plan everything out for this match.
But does that pique your interest for this match?
Not by a long shot, because the reasons are just there, because this feud is basically, and I'm not trying to be politically incorrect. I mean, I am politically incorrect for saying this, but and it's very controversial of me as well. This feud is basically a wet dream for Republicans, because like the American top team guys are like very strongly associated with that, and Jericho is also famous for that stuff. What more could you ask for?
So where is Full Gear taking place?
It's in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
So like if at Minneapolis, I think it's at the Target Center if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know, man. I don't know. So you know what would make this whole thing interesting? Do you know what should be the payoff according to you?
For this one, I'd say just I'll have Inner Circle win, beat Dan Lambert for it, and just move on with their respective stories.
I think you know what would be a big payoff. I don't care if American Top Team wins. I don't care if Inner Circle wins. This whole feud should lead towards the big debut of Hasbullah in AEW.
Yes, yes, please.
Please, Tony Khan, get your guys, get your team, and let that guy show up on AEW television, please.
Yes, I had tweeted it the last time. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago when WWE were doing their Saudi pay-per-view. I mentioned, like, given my disinterest in the whole Saudi shows, I said I'd only watch a WWE Saudi show if they somehow managed to have Hezbollah face Brock Lesnar, and that was like a pretty hit tweet. And it is something that I genuinely believe should happen because I mean Hezbollah is like the most dangerous strikers in combat sports, and his eventual match with Abdurazik is just going to prove that. And since from there he's like having the rocket strapped to him to bigger things, brother. So
TK, you know what to do. Sign that guy.
yes, like I'd pay good money to see that, and I want to see that in person.
Yeah, Hasbullah coming in will finally beat Raw in the Kingdom forever.
Yes, and it would be a bit of Schadenfreude for me if Hezbollah somehow beats Chris Jericho's ass. Like he's the actual savior of American Top Team.
There you go, man. There you go. We can book better. We can book this feud
Then
better than Tony Khan is doing, or at least he trying
yeah,
to do.
yes, this entire feud is a sham, and the less said about Chris Jericho this weekend, the better.
More of Hasbullah, please.
More of Hezbollah, please.
But speaking about more, uh, we, we were talking about this upcoming match, and this is between Cody Rhodes and Andrade El Idolo. And
El
we
Igloo.
thought you said what?
El Igloo.
Did you said El Igulu?
Yes, Igloo.
At least you called him Iglu and didn't call him Andre.
Yeah. Tony Schiavone, I think he called him last week.
Yes, it's Andrade, not Andre Shivani. Anyways, they had a match. The match was good. By the way, I have to say this entire matches we had on this card, it was pretty
Most of the matches were, but I thought, yeah, this match was really good, and also we'll get more on the other matches. But yeah, I mean, these guys are like somehow these guys gel together in like for wrestling for the first time.
And I have to say, man, Andrade has been picking up since the last match with Pat.
Yes, that was the better match of the two he's had, and yeah.
So, like, they had a pretty good wrestling match in short, but let's get to the finish. And like always, Cody is getting booed. So, by default, Andrade was kind of a baby face, you can say, with the crowd involvement.
Yep. And like, you want me to get to the finish itself, or you want to speak about some moments into this match?
Yeah, let's jump ahead to the finish.
Okay, sure. So, like, since it's a Cody match, and ironically and poetically enough, every Cody match has a dusty finish. Get it?
Yeah,
So,
it's a thing, man. It's a thing since when his father used to run his promotions.
yes, and every time, like, it was known to be a staple of Dusty Rhodes booking since, Rhodes family, Ranjan's family, rather. And what happened was Jose was trying to distract Cody, Andrade's assistant Jose, and then Arn Anderson takes him down and just beats him with a punch. And there was one point where the crowd was chanting, pull that Glock, and Arn was just going, shh, and then the match continues. That was hilarious. And
Bro,
while this was happening,
these AEW fans really want some gun violence these days.
the AEW fans are built different.
Yeah. So you're
So
saying something about the finish.
yes. So what happens is after Arn takes out Jose, Cody tries to go for a suicide dive on Andrade, who's standing on the ramp. And when he does that, FTR come out from the ring skirt, from under the ring, and hit him with the AAA belts while Cody was doing a suicide dive. And then Andrade takes him into the ring and does the hammerlock DDT and not the flatliner. So it's back to being a DDT. And Andrade pins him for the win. There you go. And then he celebrates with FTR after this match. And FTR also beat him up. Andrade just hits him with the running kick. And while Andrade three of them were beating Cody down, Lucha Brothers come out to make the save for Cody, and that's it.
Yeah, there you go, man. Match was really good. I think the Cody wants to make that underhook DDT, no, underhook pile driver finish.
Cody, yes, like an underhook facebuster, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's a pile driver.
What are you talking about, the pedigree or?
Yeah, he's not actually going for the pedigree kind of reference in the promo, but in reality, he wants to hit the pile driver.
Yeah, he also referred the Tiger Driver as well, right, in his promo.
Yeah, you call it the Tiger Driver. I forgot the name, but there you go, man. So the involvement of FTR again, like they did mention that they had some previous, I could say money being exchanged. Like there has been a certain relationship with Andrade and FTR. This all led to FTR winning the AAA championship in the first place. But FTR getting involved in Cody's business, that was interesting.
Yes, and surprisingly enough, probably it could lead to a rewind of Cody versus a revisit rather of Cody versus MJF.
At this point, that is pretty crazy because now you have both full blown heels.
Yes, I mean Cody's teetering towards that side. MJF is a full blown heel, but when the time comes, they could eventually revisit that sometime. Like MJF could even just say, like, Cody, I knew you had it in you. You were a dark person before I met you. Blah blah blah.
Hey, listen. Quick thought here. You can do that match again. Now that I think of it, Cody Rhodes versus MJF again.
Yeah, but it'll be so much better than the one they had last time. The
Listen,
birth of the
listen.
net tech.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it will be. And you know what's the great place to do it?
go on.
The Dynamite show in Long Island.
Ah, yes. It's
Because
early December, right? They're
yeah,
doing the Long Island show. Yes.
yeah, you know why I think that's a great place and not any other Josh Mo place? Because there is a 99.9% chance MJF is definitely being cheered in his hometown.
For sure. But he's going to dunk on them for sure. Because it's like it's Long Island, but it's not Plainview Long Island. So that's definitely going to happen when he cuts a promo over there.
But he is facing Cody Rhodes in that situation. So we're going to cheer.
Yes, that's also the food for thought. Good one there.
That makes sense. You can do, if you want to go into that direction, that's a great place. That's a great scenario. But this for now, it is FTR, getting involved with Cody Rhodes. A while back, I had a theory that when Cody Rhodes does turn heel in the future, you can do this four horsemen thing with Cody Rhodes involved, not MJF.
Yes, weren't they like alluding to it when Cody won the TNT championship? He was cutting like these borderline heel promos. He's like, I wasn't even the first choice for Tony Khan. I wasn't the first choice for TNT. I wasn't even the first choice for the championship, but there were four more people. And then he was just doing this. He was just rubbing into your face. And that eventually led to nowhere. That was just Cody and his neck tattoo. That's it.
Yeah, but still unclear on what they really want to prove with Cody Rhodes. Like, it looks like we got new people getting involved every week now.
That is something, but not sure where is that going to lead to with Cody FTR. I hope it's a one-time thing because, but where does Cody Rhodes go from here is my question.
Does he even get a pay-per-view match?
Like all his possible opponents from the leaked card, all have gone on, like all have moved on because Malakai match happened, Cody won that. Andrade match happened, Cody lost that. And now MIRO, well, we'll get to it, but yeah.
Park is still in this contention.
But how are they going to involve? Like they have involved Park, but how are they going to do an eventual match? I hope it's not a tag match, but stranger things have happened.
I don't know. I don't know what direction they're heading towards. Does Cody Rhodes even turn heel? That's my big question.
Not anytime soon, but it's coming.
Yeah.
That's all I'd say.
They are first going to rub this forced babyface run, and then they're going to turn heel, I guess.
It's really not working for him. Like they're trying to resist his face run, even though like he's facing a lot of shortcomings. And the crowd really hates him. They've finally started to embrace that, but it's the point of when instead of if. But he's clearly trying to be AEW's John Cena in a way, if you look at it.
Same formula, man. The place where John Cena and Roman Reigns were for all those years, Cody Rhodes in the same spot.
Yeah, but with Cody, it does feel a bit forced.
Yeah,
than
it does.
Roman.
But yeah, I would love if Brandy Rhodes started accompanying Cody Rhodes again. That would be interesting for this heel run.
Yes, but what about Mr. Glock himself?
I don't know. Either Cody shoots Arn or Arn shoots Cody.
That's going to happen.
We'll be here to cover that here in the reviews. But moving on, we had a in-ring interview with John Silver, aka Johnny Hungy. He's building this match, like promoting this match with Adam Cole, who he calls Pudge.
Budge.
So they had this Budge thing actually came from being the elite, and the people who watch being the elite actually dig this stuff because John Silver is entertaining and people love John Silver. So there you go.
Love John Silver.
Yeah, and I think this is his first actual promo on AEW television, if I'm not wrong.
Probably like a first in-ring promo, maybe, but like he's always cut promos backstage. And the one that comes to my mind, while they were trying to recruit Hangman Page before his 6-man tag, where he was trying to agree to join the Dark Order. And that's when actually I started rooting for John Silver. I thought like this guy is very entertaining, and like this baby face, like in the very different circumstances they had to turn face because of eventual tragedy, but it has worked for them in the long run because like all of them are such adorable goofy people, and it's easy to root for such people. And with Hangman's association, it was just that. And yeah, I think John Silver is like among all people in Dark Order, I think John Silver is like my breakout star because he's really building onto something by himself, despite like being a part of such a faction.
So he mentioned here in this promo that they are trying to recruit Adam Cole to the Dark Order, make Adam Cole a manager, let him shave his hair.
All of that are just jokes, like in jokes to be more precise, because they've been referencing that on Being the Elite. So like if the rumors are to be believed, when Adam Cole, before he left WWE, he was like he had a meeting with Vince McMahon, and these were the pitches that were given to him: change his name, become a manager, and shave his head. So those are just jokes on that they have incorporated into the BTE segments, which I thought were hilarious. And I like these, whenever Silver and Adam Cole cross paths, even Reynolds for that matter. Big shouts out. And then they're like we hope we think that you should change your name to Burge.
Purge.
It's all about the Burge. And then he just suggests another name, Muff Flanagan. Like these are the most generic names you can find in, and it's a very NXT name as well. Like they come up with the randomest of random names. So that was just to poke fun at that, and you could see Adam Cole laughing himself when John Silver suggested him Pudge. So send for the man moment for Adam Cole in that case.
Hey,
Uh,
hey. So
yeah,
now the question is, do we even get Adam Cole versus John Silver at Rampage?
you were going to say Adam Cole versus Budge, weren't you?
Yeah, so do we even get the match? Because Adam Cole got Concerto. He has to sell it, right?
Yeah, he has to sell it, and this has to lead to something big. But let's see where that goes.
You wanted John Silver versus Wyndham?
I don't want it, but I was kind of expecting that to happen because like the Rampage show is live and they have to deliver a big surprise in that case. And besides that, there aren't any big matches announced because there's always like a big main event, which they do at the start of the show to front load it, and then the show eventually regresses in terms of card placements.
You want John Silver versus Wyndham? I would say I want John Silver versus Keith Lee.
It's too soon for him. He just got released and he has 90 days to pass.
Really? Does he have the
Yes.
90 days thing?
Yeah, of course. He was on the main roster.
Oh, that sucks then. But imagine it, Keith Lee showed up.
I mean, if unless Tony Khan pays for his 90-day release to WWE, which is not going to happen, then there is a chance that Keith Lee might show up, but it's not happening anytime soon.
Anyways, man, the wrestling scene is going to be pretty wild when 2022 comes around.
Yes. And speaking of Keith Lee, like his 90-day clause are going to be up around Feb. So probably we might see him competing at Revolution.
Oh, I don't know,
And
man, whether Tony signs all these people that we love or I don't know. Lot of free
I think
agents right now at this point.
he's definitely signing Keith Lee, in my opinion. He's signing Keith Lee and possibly Biff Busick, or known as Oni Lokin in WWE.
Hey, bro, I just saw that video he posted on YouTube and I didn't even know he had in 90 days. Because
Wait, Oni had 90 days.
Bro, this is his own words. He said he has a 90 days thing.
That's
And
strange because NXT people have 30 days.
yeah, I don't know what contract he was on, but the 90 days thing
Probably
really took me.
205. Probably 205 because that was also part of main roster when he when he made the jump on 205.
I don't know at this point.
Because Tony Nese had 90 days as well.
Wait, Tony Nese had 90 days as well?
Yeah, he got released like when June or something, and he just debuted like just last week.
I don't know, but yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Yes, hopefully, while we're at it, let's just send our best wishes to them who just lost their jobs in WWE. We hope they find something better, and it's also a blessing in disguise at this point because the indie scene is booming. All these talents, all these companies would love to have them in a heartbeat. So they're just going to be fine wherever they go.
Yeah, and to the guys and girls who didn't get vaccinated, haha. Anyways.
Oh my god.
Let's talk about MJF and Darby Allin. By the way, Darby Allin was seen, sitting in the crowd in some match. I don't know which match, particular
FTR.
match. Was
It
it
was
the FTR
FTR
match?
versus. Yeah, it was the FTR match.
So MJF shows up, his team heads, crowd boos, and
Cut my music.
Yeah, and he gets to the points. He spots Darby in the crowd, and for the first part is putting over Darby. like being friendly. Like he brings up the 4 pillar thing that he did a while back. You remember, if you remember,
Mm.
like he
Yeah,
said
dude.
something like, out of all the 4 pillars, we are the two guys, we are the best. And he never gets it, like why the people cheer you and the people boo me, something like that.
Yes, because like MJF then heels on him saying, like these fans are things like I am what these fans dream of, being successful, rich, and all that. And the fans are like you are the outcast. You can't be accepted in the society, so you have to mend your ways to fit in. But even then, nobody will accept you. So it was like from him, admit, like, and he was right in a lot of ways, because whatever he was speaking was right. The fans still hate him nonetheless, barring all the heel stuff that he does. So I thought it was a fantastic promo by MJF. Like he was on fire like throughout the night.
And this led to like, and the even Darby had some mic time. He said that at the pay-per-view we are going to have a wrestling match, pure wrestling match. But for now, he's going to beat the shit out of MJF, and he slowly made his, yeah.
Yes, and MJF says that, yeah, when we are wrestling at Full Gear, it's going to be a wrestling match, because I know that I'm such a better wrestler than you. You're going to beat the hell out of me, but in all that emotion, you're going to forget to actually beat me. And me being the superior wrestler, I'm going to beat you with just a headlock, which was a classic line.
So Darby said, his lines, like, we'll have a wrestling match at the pay-per-view. Now he's going to beat the shit out of MJF. Slowly made his way to the ringside, and MJF decided to bail, but he was met by Sting and a bunch of guys dressed as Darby Allin. You can call him the
The
Hoodlums.
hoodlums.
Yeah, I was about to
The
say
hood.
that. So MJF is cornered at this point. Like, even see Sean Spears and Wardlow trying to attack these guys, these masked guys, but they were being, pummeled by Sting and the rest of these masked fellows or something like that. So MJF has no choice. So he's cornered. So he goes after Darby Allin. Like, he says, fuck it. So these two have a brawl in the crowd. And there was this part where Darby Allin, like, MJF is getting beaten down near the barricade. So Darby Allin, he takes a huge sprint and clotheslines MJF through the barricade. Both men just fly over the barricade. This looked insane.
That was an awesome spot. That was an awesome spot.
And I think Darby was about to do the coffin drop on MJF, but MJF escapes. And there you go. That was the end of the segment. And yeah, this is a really good story heading towards the paper, man. Sweet and simple.
Nah, exactly. And this is also another match that is going to rule on the card, because both of these wrestlers are like very diverse in their styles. Because MJF, he can wrestle technically, he's also a showman, and he can also go dirty when required. Whereas Darby, who also has like a bit of amateur skills, can show MJF, his good wrestling skills. At the same time, he's a daredevil, risk taker, whatever you want to call him. So it's going to be an interesting clash of styles in a more wrestling sense. But the story writes itself, as these two were like the young and up and coming stars of AEW, who are going to build, like, who this company is going to build around. And that's what they want to showcase, and this is what is going to take the company forward in the later years.
That should be good, man. And one of these guys is getting the world title by next year.
I thought I was scared you were going to say next week, and I was going to bail you out on that.
Who do you think I am? Louis Dangur?
No.
Yeah. But
I just
anyways,
wanted to get a Louis Dangur joke out of the way while we were talking. So good.
bro,
Good job.
I only planned for the Queen's Crown thing, not Louis Dangur this week.
Nah, fuck Louis Dangur.
Yeah. But shall we get to the main event? before you have anything to add?
Uh, yes, I do have some things to add. So while we were talking about the TBS title promos, we completely forgot about Hikaru Shida. I mean, so did Tony Khan when she was AEW Women's Champion, but I digress. So there was a promo they aired of Hikaru Shida while she was she had got her 50th win, and Tony Schiavone was presenting to her a trophy, an actual trophy, and she gets interrupted by Nyla Rose. They say like they have history between them, and next, like when this match eventually takes place with Shida's injured knee, Nyla is going to take advantage of that and progress to the next round. So there you go. That is something that happened,
Nyla
and
Nyla
yeah,
Rose wins.
yeah. I hope Shida wins because there is a bigger story to make and like a bigger star to make with Shida, even though she's already been in AEW Women's Champion. But this association of Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero hasn't gone anywhere, to be fair.
Yeah. As of now, Nyla Rose is just there in the division.
Yes, and another promo that we forgot was basically like Dante Martin, Leo Rush are backstage with, I think, Alex Marvez. I'm not sure who it is. And Matt Seidel is standing with Lee Moriarty. So Matt Seidel admits defeat to Dante, saying you were the better wrestler that night because Dante finally got a win over Seidel. And then he's like, if you're moving ahead with Leo Rush, I've got a new protege and Lee Moriarty. He's got the same amount of talent as you, and we are looking at the future of AEW. So he was also referring to Dante in that because Dante is still a babyface. Leo is the heel, and then he challenges them to a tag match later down the line. So besides that, I think yeah, these were the only things that we missed out on. And you want me to run through the card for Rampage?
Yeah, because the Dynamite card, I think they were about to do it, but I think they ran out of time or
We're out of
something.
time. They're out
Yeah,
of time. That was a Tony Schiavone staple like back in the 90s during WCW because they always used to run out of time and used to say that.
yeah.
And so basically, like there are two matches announced, which is John Silver versus Adam Cole. I was gonna say Budge, but purposely. And Red Velvet versus the Bunny for the TBS Championship tournament. And there was a face-to-face between Punk and Eddie. So yeah, and for Dynamite they haven't announced. They said they'll announce it on Rampage. So there you go. Let's shall we jump to the main event then?
Yes, we will. It is the AEW World Title Eliminator matchup. This is Orange Cassidy versus Miro, and Brian Danielson was there for commentary. So what happened was both Cassidy and Miro, I don't know for what reason it was, Miro was actually taped on his thigh,
Hmm.
and they did reveal why Cassidy is taped on this rib side, like he went through that injury in the ladder match. But I don't know what's the deal with Miro. Even Danielson mentioned it.
Yes, and with Danielson even mentioned that while he was entering, and then he's like he's got a big target on his thighs, which Orange Cassidy would like to exploit. And basically, the first few minutes of this match were Orange going for his comedy spot of his hands in pockets, and then while Miro was going after him, Orange was continuously evading him. So I thought this was like a good segue from the usual Orange stuff that we see when he just goes like full comedy in the first few minutes and then he builds up his seriousness. But this was just serious from the get go, less of the crack, more of the fighting, which was good.
And like we did see the comedy stuff in the beginning, but when Miro got in the offense, it was all Miro. He just destroyed Orange Cassidy. But
He
there
was
were
just
some,
mauling on him.
yeah, there were some spots where Cassidy made small comebacks, like Cassidy got in the beach break, and that was a great near fall.
That was a great near fall, and like he hit it like with a snap. He didn't get time to adjust his weight and then do it. So I thought that was a good little wrinkle to this match, which also worked with Orange's injured ribs.
And let's get to the finish. So Miro gets in the game over, and that was a submission victory for Miro. Miro advances. He is facing Bryan Danielson at the pay-per-view. They had a face-to-face. Like Danielson reached out for a handshake. Miro is not interested. The matchup should be good, man.
Yes. Before I speak about that, there was another spot that we forgot. When Orange was going for his comeback, and Miro was standing, like Miro was like, "Fuck this," and then he stands near the table where the ring bell and all the ring people are there, ring crew, and then Orange jumps on Miro onto the table, and Matt Hardy is standing in the crowd, and then Orange just gives him a thumbs up. I thought that was hilarious, and then Miro Orange just tries to go for a count out victory, but then Miro comes in and then he hits him with the kick. I don't know what is it called in AEW. It was called Machka kick in WWE,
It's a thrust kick, they
and
say.
it's just a thrust kick.
Yeah.
I thought there was a special name to that. Never mind. And then Miro hits him with the game over. That's the submission victory, and then whatever you just mentioned. So this match is going to be awesome. I mean, they faced each other in WWE before as
Have they? I don't
Rusev and
remember.
Daniel Bryan. They did. One that I remember was like there was this gauntlet match for number one contendership for the WWE Championship. So that's when like Daniel, there was like back then he was Daniel Bryan. So there was Daniel Bryan, there was Big E, there was Rusev, there was Samoa Joe, and there was another person.
Wait, Samoa
I
Joe was
think it
also
was,
there?
yeah, and Miss some that this is 2018 that I speak of. Like this
Oh,
was, I think this was like the better time to watch SmackDown because of the roster itself, and that's been during AJ's WWE Championship run. So they were building to, I think they were building to Extreme Rules. So Brian defeats Biggie, Joe, and Miz. Yeah, there was Miz as well. So he defeats the three of them, and then he comes and faces Rusev, current currently Miro. So they have a match, and then Rusev goes on to win that gauntlet match to face AJ Styles with the WWE Championship at the pay per view. I think it was Extreme Rules, yes. So that was that. That's the only memory I have. Besides that, I don't think they've faced. They might have faced like in early days of Miro, early days of Rusev, I think, or when Daniel Bryan was Intercontinental Champion, and then Rusev just lost his US title. I think somewhere around that. But that's the only match that comes to my mind if they faced each other in WWE. But AEW, it's going to be like these are the more rogue version of themselves. Like they're just going to go hell for leather on each other. And yeah, I'm excited for this one as well.
like in this situation, Miro seems a little unpredictable. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
Danielson is not going to hold back. He's going to literally beat the shit out of Miro.
yes, and with the plan of Moxley eventually winning, as rumored, Miro is like a surprise addition, and there are like a lot of possibilities. Miro could win the whole thing and then be a good first challenger for Hangman one or Kenny, whoever wins that. And if Brian wins, then he could be a good challenger for both of these guys. But we're not sure if Brian wins and if Hangman also wins, where is that going to go? Because you're not going to make either of these guys lose, and you can't do a time limit expiry yet again after the match with Kenny.
In that case, give it to Miro. I would take Miro beating Danielson.
Yes, and this will also put Miro like a lot more over because there is like a bigger fish to fry with his character. Where is that going? But and also it makes him look like a legit threat if he wasn't enough already. So this is great stuff.
Should be good, man. Should be good. And that's how Dynamite went off the air. Nothing much to take from this show. They got yet another Dynamite before we get to Full Gear, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, this is it's basically next week. Or today is what, 5th, right?
Yeah, today is the 5th.
5th.
One more week.
One more week for Full Gear. But
Yeah,
is Full Gear is on Sunday or Saturday?
it's November 13th.
Yes, it's a Saturday. Yeah, today is a Friday, so
Yeah, pretty much card is stacked. At how many matches have they announced?
6.
Yeah. Okay.
There
So
are there
basically,
are two more. There is I think there are two more to be added. One I don't remember which one, and the other is CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston.
what about the Elite and the Jurassic Express? What do they do in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean they haven't really official. Yeah, the other match that I was referring to is Christian Cage versus Adam Cole. So that's going to be a good match as well.
Yeah, that makes sense compared to any tag or multi-man at this point.
Yeah, and there are two multi-man matches already, which is the Inner Circle and American Top Team and the FTR and Lucha Bros.
We'll have to wait and see. They got one more week. So yeah, and by the way, the TBS Women's Championship is going to continue after full year. Right? It's not going to end.
Yes.
Okay, that's out of the way. So before we leave, Ridwan, we can you guys find it?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @Ridwan_Ahmad. And if you're watching this in video form, you can see it anywhere in the bottom corners.
And you can catch Slamhub Wrestling on Twitter at SlamhubW, Instagram at Slamhub Wrestling, and you can catch this review on Anchor and Spotify as well. This was the AEW Dynamite review, and I'll see you guys next time.
Ciao.
No matter who you are.